I would like to welcome you all for this workshop where we are going to discuss how you can kickstart social media strategy for your business right away. Today's event is brought to you by Designhill, world's leading creative marketplace that caters to the creative needs of businesses and individuals alike, who can source high quality design from professional designers and buy unique products created by independent artists. So moving ahead, let me introduce our speaker for today. We have with us Dorian Maureen Van Dam. Dorian is a social media consultant, organic social media specialist, certified agile marketeer, community manager, and a keynote speaker. Too many hats. She has been in the trenches of social media for nearly 10 years now. Started out as a local specialist, learned about B2B, and now she's working with international brands. Dorian, would you like to say a quick hi to the audiences?
Yes, I needed to unmute myself. Hi, everybody. I'm so glad I'm here. Thank you to Designhill for inviting me to do this workshop. And thank you for my team for helping me to get ready for this. I'm super excited to get started.
Great, great. Before we start the session, let's quickly look at what Designhill is all about.
Need to get your parents off your back? Head to the world's #1 creative marketplace, Designhill.
When I started my photography business, I needed something that said, this was more than just a hobby. It's not a hobby, Mom. That's why I went to Designhill and got an amazing logo, super fast, at a price I could afford. The process was easy using Designhill's logo maker. Just enter the name of your business, then pick out a number of designs that inspire you. I'll pick this one and that one looks cute. Then pick your colors or let the system decide. Add some more info like a slogan, the industry your business is in, and your budget. The logo maker, using machine learning and artificial intelligence, will design thousands of logo variants that you can choose from and adapt. In fact, I was able to get everything from business cards to t-shirt design and complete social media kit, all with the click of a button. With that, I'm all set. Now everyone I meet knows I'm a legit photographer. Even my mom. It's real. That's decaf.
Let the world know it's real and build your brand with Designhill.
All right, that was about Designhill, and now we are all set to start the session. Guys, we will take up questions during the session, so if you have any, please feel free to drop them in the questions tab on your screen, and we are good to go. Dorian, over to you.
All right. Thank you, everybody, once again for being here. I see some familiar faces. I'm super excited that you're here and want to learn more about how to kickstart your social media success today. So let me go ahead and start sharing my screen and bring up my presentation. So you should be able to see my presentation now. And Nidhi, if it's not right, you should interrupt me and let me know. But today we're going to talk about strategy, because in order to kickstart your social media success today, you need a strategy. And it doesn't matter whether you're already far along on your social media journey, or if you're in a startup, or if you're a new social media manager. Having a strategy or creating a strategy can kickstart something that's already going, right? It can give it kind of like that kick in the rear end that it needs to actually work. So that's what we'll be talking about. We will be taking some questions here and there. So, you know, if I need to be interrupted because there's lots of questions, Nidhi's going to just let me know. And otherwise, I'm going to go ahead and get started. So the first thing I want to ask you, and you can kind of take a note if you need to, is do you have any of these in place? Do you, as a business owner or a social media marketer, maybe you're the CMO of the company, do you have these things in place? An editorial calendar, a content calendar, maybe you have a budget, maybe you have tools. And if you do have these in place, that's awesome. But if you don't have a strategy, you're going to find out at the end why it's important to have that strategy first. So I'm going to stick a pin in this, and I'll come back at the end because this is going to be so much more effective when you have a strategy. So I kind of wanted to throw this out there for you. If you raise your hand, your virtual hand, and you say, yes, I have that editorial calendar, I have that content calendar, I have a budget, I have tools, that's great. But if you don't have a strategy, we need to talk. So that's what we're going to do today, right? So this is kind of the agenda for today's workshop. I talk about what a social media strategic plan is, the structure of the plan, why you need it, of course, when, which is a very important question, and then how to put it all together, because I want to make sure that you get some tools and some tips on how to prepare a plan like this for either your own business or the business that you are working with. So these are kind of the 5 pieces, what I'll be discussing today. So let's move on. So what is a social media strategic plan? There's a lot of different ways you can look at it, but let's look at this next question, and that might explain, or this next slide might explain what it is. It's something to help you understand on where to focus your social media. If you are confused, if you are one of those people that is really lured by those shiny objects, maybe you see somebody is doing really well on Pinterest, or maybe a competitor is doing something amazing with video, and you get pulled in all these different places and you don't know where to focus. That is a social media strategic plan. Once you have that plan, it helps you focus. It helps you focus in on what you need to do. So another way to look at it is like a roadmap. So it provides a starting point. And the way a social media strategic plan provides a starting point is that one of the pieces that we'll be talking about in a minute of a social media strategic plan is to do a social media audit. Put in the chat if you've ever done an audit. And an audit, we all know financial audits, right? But a social media audit is when you take a snapshot of what's happening in your business right now. What are you doing on Facebook? What kind of content are you sharing? How many people are you reaching? What is the most popular content, right? So that's an audit. Talk about going into your Google Analytics and seeing where your traffic is coming from. You might assume your traffic is coming from your blog, but maybe it's Pinterest that's driving it, or Instagram, right? So doing a social media audit provides you with a starting point of where you are now. It also, a social media strategic plan will summarize your future plans, because don't we all have some wonderful and great creative ideas about what we think we want to do with our business and what we might want to do on social media? We might see somebody have an incredibly successful campaign and we might think, oh, that's great. But if we don't have a place to put that, and to put that plan, and to put that idea, then it gets lost. So it summarizes future plans. The other thing is it will outline your social media goals. And this is especially important if you are not the business owner. If you're the social media marketer, if you're the CMO, if you've never asked the business decision maker why they are on social media, you're missing a huge, huge opportunity to focus in. So a social media strategic plan will allow you to find out what the ultimate goals are. Why are you on social media? It helps you define your marketing objectives, of course. What do you want to accomplish with marketing? What do you want to accomplish with social media marketing, right? It gives you some strategy, some tactics. And then also a social media strategic plan, which is one of the things that I love, is it helps you identify your target audience. And that's really where the sweet spot is in a lot of these plans, because a lot of people don't know exactly who their target audience is. So they're kind of talking to everybody, right? And if you're talking to everybody, you're talking to nobody. Let me say that again. If you're talking to everybody, you're talking to nobody. You have to know who you're talking to. You have to create an avatar. We'll talk about that in a minute. You have to know exactly who who it is that you're talking to on social media, because then you can hone in onto the right message. You can create better Facebook ads. You can create better content. You can really know what platform to be on. And then a social media strategic plan also provides you a written plan of action, right? It is a place where you can go to, where you can go back to. It's that roadmap, right? When you're driving from place A to place B, you're not just going to say, I'm going to go from place A to place B. You're going to have all these markers along the way. I'm going to have to take a left up here and a right up here. And in about 2 miles, I've got to do this and go over a bridge. That's kind of what the social media strategic plan should be for you and your business, and that roadmap. So let's move on. I love presenting data. So, throughout this presentation, you'll see a couple of slides with some data, and this one's kind of fun. 40% of small businesses have no social media marketing strategy. That's quite a big number. It's not bad if you're one of those 40%. If you're here, it's actually super good that you might have recognized that your social media needs something, that your marketing needs something, that your business needs that kickstart. So I'm glad if you don't have one that you're here, because you're going to leave here wanting a strategy and wanting to implement some of these things for your business. So I'm super excited about that. But 40% don't have a social media marketing strategy. And so if you've ever played chess, you know you have to think 3, 4, 5, 6 moves ahead. I'm not much of a chess player. In my youth I was, but not anymore. But here's kind of what you might have heard this expression, but it's really true for social media strategic planning. By failing to prepare and by failing to plan, you are preparing to fail. Your social media isn't working because you don't have a plan. And you can't work a plan if you don't have a plan. So it's really, really important that you put a written plan together. Now I've given you all the reasons. So now we're going to talk about the structure of a social media strategic plan. What does that look like, right? So, and this might be you that are already sitting here. I've given one piece of the puzzle away already, which is a social media audit. But there's other pieces that you will need to put together that social media strategic plan. And I hope that this is creating some curiosity right now. So get your notes ready, because I'm going to give you a couple of other things besides the social media audit. So the structure of a social media strategic plan has some of these. It has goals and objectives, right? It has that social media audit. It has a competitor analysis. And this is kind of an important piece that a lot of people, it's a little bit of work. So people skip this part, but there's so many great things you can learn from your competitors. One of the things you can learn is what they're doing well. So if your competitor is doing really well with, say, giveaways, that might be something, if you're targeting the same audience, that you might want to try. So by doing a competitor's analysis, you're going to get this quick takeaway, right? The other thing you're learning is what not to do. I recently was working with a client on a competitor's analysis, and we were moving from one competitor from LinkedIn to Facebook to Instagram. And what we realized by looking at that competitor is that they were posting the exact same content at the exact same time with the exact same message. And the takeaway from that was, don't be like that. So one of the things that we learned is that turned us off. So I said to her, now you have something that you can implement. When you are putting content together, you make sure that you schedule it out at different times. You hone in on the message for each platform. You're going to say something different on LinkedIn than you would say on Facebook, than you would say on Instagram, and you're going to post it at different times because you're targeting a different audience. So that was a quick takeaway from that competitor's analysis. And there's tons of things you can learn from a competitor's analysis. So that's part of that social media strategic plan. Another big part is a keyword research, right? This includes your website. You have to know who your target audience is, what your competitors are doing, and what kind of research you want, keywords you want to be found for. So that's kind of a deep dive into keywords. It's not something that you can't do on your own. There's some tools available. We'll talk about that in a minute. And then the other thing that's really important, and that's part of the structure of a social media strategic plan, would be hashtag strategy. We know that hashtags are really important on Instagram, but they also play a huge role on Pinterest and on LinkedIn. And guess what? They're starting to be more active and more valuable on Facebook. So knowing what hashtags are important to your industry, what people are clicking on, how people are searching for hashtags, what hashtags are being used locally in your industry for your product, for your services, is super important. So part of the research that you should be doing is that hashtag strategy. Actually, I'm going to go back here for a second. So one of the other things that I wanted to talk to you about is some additional pieces that I didn't put on this slide, but I wrote them down. So I'm going to make sure that I don't forget to add these.
You can learn is what they're doing.
Oh. Sorry, I heard my own echo. That was kind of silly. So one of the things that I want to add to this is the avatar identification. A target audience would be, who are you trying to reach? But honing in on an avatar, on that one person that you want to talk to, really helps you identify the language that you use when you create content. And I have an example. I love giving examples. So one of my clients is a soccer club. And I've been with them for a long time, and I use them as an example, and they're perfectly fine with that. But when I started working with them and I did this strategic plan with them, the board of this club was all male. And it was soccer, and still in this country, in the USA, more boys play soccer than girls. And so they had done some social media, and everything was geared towards dads. What I find out by talking to them and doing a deep dive is that their avatar was really the soccer mom, because where the journey of their customer started was when a soccer mom had a child of about 3 or 4, and they were looking for an activity for their child. And the ideal avatar was actually a mom with 2 or 3 children. She drove a minivan. She might have played sports in high school herself. And we put together all these interests and hobbies that she had. And once we had that avatar and we started using her as an example of who to talk to, the conversation changed. And people started to follow us on social media, and people started to interact and react. So having an avatar comes with this deep dive in this structured social media strategic plan. It's important to have that so you can hone into your marketing message. Another part of this social media strategic plan that needs to come in here somewhere that finds a place is how your offline marketing and your social media marketing merge together. And here's an example. A couple of years ago, I was working with somebody who wanted to have a quick start to social media, and they really wanted, very clearly, did not have time, as they said, for the social media strategic plan. This takes about, it's a 3 to 4 week system that I have in place to create these. And they were like, I just want you to start tomorrow on my social media marketing. I do not want a social media strategic plan. I started them, this is a photographer, I started them in the spring. By the fall, he and I had a meeting, and we realized, I walked into the office and I saw something on the wall, and I'm reading it while I'm waiting for him. And what it ended up being is that he was an exclusive photographer for a local private beach. Now, I had been doing social media marketing for him since the spring. The summer was over. It is now fall. I had never once on social media channels mentioned that he was the exclusive photographer for that private beach where he could do family portraits, family gatherings. And he said, yeah, I didn't get any bookings. But because we didn't have this social media deep dive. We skipped a social media strategic plan. We skipped something important that was needed for social media, but that was an offline activity that would have really helped our social media strategy. So I just want to use as an example is when you're skipping this part, and you might already have skipped it, and maybe you're already active on social media, but you've never written down this strategic plan and put all these pieces together, you're probably leaving some important details on the table, some important things that you could be sharing on social media, because social media works best when all these gears, when all these pieces are together. So I just wanted to put that out there as well. The last part that will come out of creating this plan is a social media voice. It kind of goes along with that avatar. You know, some of you might use this sarcastic voice or a funny voice or a serious voice. It depends on who your client is or who you are representing. So it's important to find out what works for the audience, right? So by finding out the avatar and what's working and what content's working best with that social media audit, you can start honing in on a social media voice. That actually might take a while, but from this social media plan, you should be able to start identifying pieces that together make up that social media voice. So let's go to the next data. 64% of successful companies built their budget based on their strategy rather than on their past behaviors. So if you're a CMO, if you're a social media manager, if you're in charge of marketing for your company, I know that you struggle with budgets. I know that because I get questions about that all the time. And the reason you struggle with budgets is because you haven't laid out your plan. If you haven't laid out your plan, if you don't know if you want to work with influencers, or if you want to work with brand ambassadors, or if you want to do a whole video series, you don't really know what you're going to pay out. But by laying out this plan, you can then also lay out your budget. So if you want to be successful, you need to base your budget on your strategy. So I just wanted to throw that out there. And if you can't measure it, you can't improve it. You have to be at the starting line. I'm also a marathon runner. I also love putting that in my presentations. If I go for a run, and I cannot tell you how frustrating it is if whether I'm a minute in or a mile in or 3 miles in, if I forget to start my watch, I cannot compare what I'm doing that day to what I did another day because I'm missing data, right? I can't measure it. I can't measure my effort if I forget to start my watch. So if you do not have an audit, if you do not have the snapshot of what's happening now, you really cannot compare and know where your growth is going to be. So if you can't measure it, you can't improve it. It's really kind of important. So why do you need this social media strategic plan? I kind of already went in that a little bit, but let's go see. How is social media strategic plan going to help my business? How is it going to kickstart my business? So here you go. Measurable data. It identifies opportunities, right? You have this plan, and then all of a sudden you realize, hey, I can share on social media that we also are this exclusive photographer for this private beach, right? So now your opportunities are right there. It creates focus. It lets you really focus in on your goals. It improves your efforts. It saves money in the end. It gives you a competitive edge. If your competitors don't know what you're doing, but you know what they're doing, that's power. So it gives you a competitive edge, and it helps you analyze your results, because if you have that snapshots of where you start, you can compare this month to next month, and then to the next month, and then to the next month. So it's super important to have that. You can compare quarter to quarter, you compare year to year. But if you don't have that data, and if you're not recording it, then you do not know how you are growing. It also eliminates, and this is something that some of you might suffer from, this shiny object syndrome. And it happens to the best of us, even us who have a social media strategic plan. You see somebody do something, a successful campaign, launch something, and you're like, oh, I want to do that. And you go off on into this rabbit hole, and you start going, oh, I want to do that too. But if you have the social media strategic plan, it should help you refocus on your goals. Because if you open your plan every month, you're like, okay, my main goal was to drive traffic. My main goal was not to have this XYZ thing that I'm working on. So it brings you back. It kind of, this path that goes like this means it doesn't go all the way off on the wrong, on the wrong side of that roadmap. Sure, we sometimes make little detours on our road to go somewhere and we sightsee somewhere, but it still lets you get from point A to point B. But if you don't have that plan, you're going to get turned around and you might end up at home and not know where you've been. So it really gives you that opportunity to know where you're going. So I'm going to take a little time out. I don't know if this is a good time to take a 2-minute meeting or for me to answer some questions. So I'm going to let Nidhi see if she has any questions for me.
Yes. So we do have a lot of questions in the questions tab, and we are quickly gonna take a few of them before we break for this session.
Okay. Excellent.
All right. So here is one question from Mitzi, someone called Mitzi, and it has got 5 upvotes. She is asking what strategies and steps does a digital marketeer need to take to turn leads into paying customers when using social media?
Okay, so leads into paying customers. So that's definitely digital marketing. So that's paid strategy, and that's actually going to be on my next slide. But I'm going to I'll talk to you real quick about that. You have to make sure that you do both. And it's important to have a paid strategy as well as a organic strategy. But the most important part to that is that your teams are working together. And because often bigger companies might have a sales team and a marketing team and a revenue team, and they're not talking to each other. And so the most important part is that you have the strategic plan and you create this plan, but you share it with the other departments and you have the same goals, right? So leads into sales, you have to talk. As a social media marketer, I'm an organic specialist, so I don't really do a lot of paid, but as a social media marketer, I'm responsible for leads. The sales team, whoever's writing the sales copy or whoever's writing creating the website and the landing page, they're responsible for the conversion part of it. So if they have one idea and I have another, and I can drive traffic, but I drive the wrong traffic and there's no conversion, and if we're not talking, somebody's going to tell me, your social media isn't working. And then the sales team gets, well, you're not making any sales. But if we're not working together, then those might be great leads, but they might be the wrong leads. So the important part to that, to create leads into conversion, is that your different teams are talking to each other and have a shared strategy with the same goals, the same objectives. That's the most important part.
Okay, so one last question before we finally break.
Yeah.
It's an industry specific question.
Sure.
Jennifer Monzon is asking if there is a way to motivate user generated content for a small e-commerce business without contestants asking every day for a tag to be featured. Having trouble for customers to spread the words about their purchases, and she's specifically asking in context with linen bedding mostly. I think it's
okay. Yeah, so I think at that point, when you want user-generated content and you want fun content, there's some different incentives that you can do. So you're e-commerce, you're sending them products. So putting a fun sticker in the box, right, that says, I love, whatever the name of your company. You can create little videos. You can actually, if you want people to do it, you can get some friends, family, fans, employees to create sample videos, and you start sharing them, like unboxing videos. The more you share, the more they want to, other people might want to do it too. But I would say a lot of out-of-the-box ideas would be to put something in the box, right? To surprise people. People want to feel special. And if you want to have a customer for life, they're willing to pay for it. We're going to talk about retention marketing in the next couple of slides, but they're willing to pay for good quality and for incredible customer service. So surprise somebody. I have 4 dogs. I'll use this as an example. And I order my dog food online. And I also order my pet medications online, and every box that I get, there's a dog bone in it. My dogs are more excited than I am to get it because they can smell the dog bone, right? And there's a little surprise in the box. What if you put a little sticker in there or a little keychain or something that has your branding on it that they can use, a little gift, a little handwritten note even. It might take some effort. It might take a little bit of a budget or money. But I would say think outside the box of what you can do when somebody opens your product to surprise them. Because when you surprise people, when you make them feel good, they're going to talk about you online. It could be that you randomly put in a $2 or $5 Starbucks gift card and say, hey, we just want to make your day today. I guarantee when you do something unexpected, they're going to be super excited and they will share and tag you. And the more you do that, other people will do it too. So for that, I would recommend thinking outside the box to put something in the box.
Great. I think that that's some really, really great advice. People's perspective and people's, putting people at the center of what you do really does matter a lot. I hope you guys are enjoying the session. But before we move forward, I would like to give a quick shout out to Designhill, was leading creative marketplace for organizing this event. Let's take a quick break and keep this interesting conversation going. Stay tuned. We'll be back to hear more from Dorian.
The thing I love about filmmaking is that it's collaborative, that every part of the process you have to invite and bring in a team of people to share your vision with. I love that you can have an idea, you can write a script, but in order to make any type of film, you need at least one to hundreds of other people. New in Jersey is a television show that I've been working on for the past year. I've always wanted to make New Jersey what Stephen King made Maine, and tell these really weird, small stories in New Jersey. When you're pitching a show or a movie, it's really important to take that time and make what you're presenting feel real and authentic. I was looking for design materials that can help explain my vision and help brand what I'm trying to sell. So I used Designhill's logo maker, and it was super easy. They asked me a couple questions, I answered them, and then I picked from a handful of designs that I liked certain aesthetics about. And then within a few seconds, I had tons of options to mix and match and choose from. It was really easy. When you're pitching a show, you don't always have your budget worked out. For me, this was an awesome option. Designhill's logo maker was really affordable. So I don't have to put a ton of money in, and I get the assets that I need to make my job easier and more successful. In addition to the logo, they also offer things like t-shirts, business cards, and social media kits. I can honestly say that thanks to Designhill, I now have the assets and the materials I need to go into a meeting and feel my best.
All right, we are back again. Dorian, you can go ahead. Yes.
Need to make sure I'm unmuted, guys.
Yes.
Can you see my screen? Am I on the right slide? Can you see my timeout screen?
Yes, we can. Yes.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. I just wanted to make sure. So I just want to make this point, and it was a great question that we had earlier, is if you're doing any sort of paid advertising or run digital marketing campaigns, and you are the decision maker in the company, make sure you do not ignore organic social media. And I'm going to explain that here. Paid social enhances organic efforts, and organic social enhances paid campaigns, right? It's that social proof that you need. If you're running ads to a Facebook page or even to a website, but you're not really having conversations online. I see this all the time, people selling products, and you go there to their Facebook page after you've clicked on an ad, and there's nothing on the page, there's no conversations. I don't trust them. I don't trust there to be somebody there that's going to provide customer service. So your paid social campaigns are enhanced by that organic effort, and that organic effort enhances your paid campaign. So I just want to kind of make that point that in order to, merge that, when you're creating that strategy, I guess what I want to say is that you keep that in mind, that we don't forget that there's those different parts. And as an organic social media specialist, I often talk about, content creation, which is really what I'm all about. And I know that's what Designhill is all about. It's about the content that's being seen. But if you are doing paid campaigns, that both of these together really makes you strong. So I just wanted to kind of make that point. 95 of employees do not understand the organization's social media strategy. And that's really sad, because I would assume that 95% of the employees are the ones who are going to be doing marketing for you as a business owner. So that's not a very good number. I think it's super important that everybody on the team gets an input in this strategy, and that everybody on the team has an understanding of the goals. It's really important. So that kind of comes down to this, you might have, I love little quotes, but strategy without tactics is the slowest route to victory. And then tactics without strategy is a noise before defeat. So you need to make sure you have a strategy, and you need to have tactics to get there. And it doesn't mean that everything is perfect. I just want you to know, guys, I've made, strategic plans. We adjust them, right? We look after a month, we look after 2 months, after 3 months, we adjust the plan. We might be implementing a tactic that's not working. So don't go on for another 2 months or 3 months just because it said so in the strategic plan. The idea is that it's a fluid plan, and you need to adjust it and analyze it. So it's important that you have this in place to refer back to, but it's not a static plan. So when do you need a social media strategic plan? I just want to kind of give you that, when is a good time to create a social media strategic plan. So when you're starting a business, it's great. I'm sure that you create a business plan, but do you have a marketing plan, and do you have a social media strategic plan? If the answer is no, that is a good time to have one. When you have a new product or service, or a new offering, is a great time to put together a social media strategic plan or to update it. If nothing else, every year you should do one. I usually do mine in the end of October and November for my own business. It's a good time to look back on what's worked, to look ahead. The holiday season, things kind of happen in my business. A lot of people are thinking ahead to next year. So I'm usually creating strategic plans for people. October through December is a really busy time for me. When you're rebranding, super important to put all your ducks in a row. And when things aren't working. So if you're here because your social media isn't quite working and you want that kickstart, creating a social media strategic plan is going to do that for you. You're going to find pieces that you've left on the table. You're going to get inspiration, new ideas, all kind of ideas on what to do and where to spend your money. And this is kind of like that 2020 vision, right? Hindsight's 2020. When your headlights aren't on, the best rearview mirror available isn't going to improve your driving. You've got to look ahead, and you've got to go with what you have. So how are we going to put this all together? I know this is the meat of the presentation. I know you want to know how to put it all together, what all the pieces are. So let's get to this, right? How do I put this plan together? So the first part that you need to understand is that it needs to be a shareable and workable document. It needs to be flexible. So whether you are visual, or whether you are, you want to have it written, the best plans usually are the ones that have both. So you could start with a written plan, and then you can create it into an infographic if you need, or data graphs, or if you can put it in a PowerPoint, if you want to make like a Canva presentation like I did, whichever one it is. But putting it all together, it needs a shareable, workable document that you share with your teams. That's the first thing. I think it's kind of important to understand that who needs to be part of this. When you do a social media strategic plan, the sales team needs to see it. I kind of alluded to that when I answered the question. The owner of the business should see it and be part of the putting it together and creating it. And that's actually going to be the next slide. So I start every social media strategy with a discovery deep dive, right? that is going to be with the decision maker of the company. It could be the CMO, it could be the CEO, it could be the owner, it could be anybody. If you're a solopreneur, it's you. If you're a coach, or if you're an entrepreneur, it's you. And it starts with that discovery deep dive. The best way to do this, it's with somebody else asking you the questions. You need to have somebody to bounce these questions off of. But here are some of the things that are in the discovery deep dive. I'm going to read them to you just to make sure that I don't forget. But the who, what, where, why, and when, and then the questions that you're going to ask about, are going to be like, who is your target audience? Who is your best customer? Who is your most profitable customer? Who is your most long-lasting customer? What's the customer journey? All these things that you need to understand to create that avatar is in this Discover Deep Dive. I usually take a 90-minute session to get all the answers. This is also where you ask the decision maker what other marketing efforts they have. I cannot tell you how many people I've worked with that as an afterthought said, oh yeah, we've got TV ads running. Or, oh yeah, we're on the local radio. Oh, I just bought $1,200 worth of ad space in a local magazine. Those are things that need to put in your social media strategy plan, because you can enhance what you're doing offline, online, right? So the Discovery Deep Dive has all that information in it. Once you have that deep dive gone, you're going to create the structure of this document with those goals and objectives that we talked about, that social media audit that you did, that snapshot of what you have. You're going to add the competitors analysis to it. I usually say 3 to 5 competitors. 5 is probably ideal. When I work with a business owner or decision maker, I ask them to give me their competitors. I'm not going to choose competitors for you. You know who your competitors are, who has a business set up like yours. It could be a local competitor that vies for the same target audience. It could be a competitor in a completely different city that offers the same product or services to a local audience. You are going to add that keyword research that you did, the hashtag strategy, put all of that together in one document. So the Discovery Deep Dive, all the answers, your target audience, all those answers that you have about your avatar, your business, your offline marketing, and then all those other things, you put it all together. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to draw up a conclusion. You're going to create 3-month goals and objectives, 6 months, 12 months, and then of course you need to make sure you do this review. But what are some of the things that you want to put in that conclusion? You want to put in there what is possible. If you could dream big, put your dreams in there. If you had an unlimited budget, what could you do? What could you reach? What is some easy, low-hanging fruit? What are some strategies that you can implement right away that you saw one of your competitors do, that you're leaving on the table? That is something quick that you can do. Put that in there. That might be a 3-month goal. Maybe your branding needs to be updated. That's going to definitely be in the first 3 months. Maybe you want to start a podcast, but you're not sure how to work it or what the podcast is going to be about. You put that in your 6-month goals. Maybe you want to work with influencers, or you start a YouTube channel, or maybe in 6 months or 12 months, you want to have a virtual conference. Put all those dreams, those ideas in there, in that conclusion, and then you're going to put them in the 3 months, 6 months, 12 months. And so you give them a space. So you don't feel like, oh, I've got to do everything now, right? You're going to organize them. That's kind of how you put it all together. And then first it's a written document. Could be Google Drive that you can share with everybody on your team. And then you're also, if you're visual, if you have a visual team, you can make that into a PowerPoint slide and share that with everybody. Remember that pin at the beginning that I said we're going to put a pin in it? Now you can see when you have all these 3 months and 6 months and 12 months goal and objectives, and you know what your competitors are doing, and you know your dreams, and you know you might want to start the podcast, or you might want to start that YouTube channel, or work with influencers or ambassadors. Now you can create the editorial calendar, because you're going to put on an editorial calendar, we're going to hire a photographer for a day, and we're going to do a photo shoot in October to get ready for the holidays. Right? You put that on your editorial calendar, and you can put a budget on there. So now you can create your budget. You also can create that content calendar, set your budget, because you know what you want to do. If you want to do a virtual event next year, right? In 12 months, you know now what you need to put in your budget for 2021. You can choose your tools because again, you know what you're going to need to accomplish. If you want to do a giveaway, you might need to put in the budget that you need a tool to do that giveaway. So you want to put that in the budget. If you need to outsource video editing, say you want to start that YouTube channel, but you have nobody on your team that can do video editing. You're going to put that on there in that strategic plan. In 6 months, we need to adjust the budget because we need to have a video editor. We're going to outsource that to a freelancer, right? You're going to review what you do in 3 months, 6 months, and 12 months. You're going to test and analyze weekly. And I'm going to give you something that if you're a social media marketer right now, I'm going to talk to you. Most of you probably here are marketers or business owners. You know what a social media strategic plan does? The number one thing it does, it gets out of your head. If you're like anything like me, all these ideas, all those dreams, all this stuff, all this to do, all this, oh, we can do this, it's in your head. This plan lets you empty your head, lets you relax, and lets you have a proven way to move forward. That's the number one reason you should do this. You can't be creative if you have all these things in your head swirling around. But when you put it on paper, it's going to give you that space to dream even bigger. And that's like the number one thing. And I have a little sticky note to remind myself to tell you the number one thing you want to do this. It's going to create that space for you to do the things that you love. And it's going to create this opportunity. I'm not good at video editing. I'm going to outsource that. It's going to put it in the budget. Henry can do that. And, I'm not good at taking photographs, and we're going to hire a photographer. We're going to put it in the budget. So we're going to have this awesome holiday campaign that we're planning for. This allows you to not have to do it all yourself and to not feel like it's all on you. It helps you take advantage of the team. And I think that is something that is going to be worth so much to you. 85% of business owners aren't sure what social media tools to use. We have something to give away to you. We're going to have a tool checklist. I'll give you in just a second on where you can find that on my website. But if you plan your work and then you work your plan, right? Plan your work with the strategy, and then you're going to work that plan. You're going to work that strategy 1 month, 1 week at a time. You review it every month. You review it quarterly. You review it yearly, and you build upon that because you can't measure. You can't grow what you can't measure, right? So this is what you do with your plan once you have it. First of all, you're going to distribute it to everybody on your team, your sales team, your CMO, everybody that is part of your team. You're going to refer to your plan often. You keep it nearby to review your goals. I cannot tell you how often that happens. You're like, oh, my goal changed. Wait, why is this not working? Oh, wait, our goal was to do X, Y, Z, and we're doing A, B, C. Okay, let's refocus. Update at least once per year and use this plan as your social media playbook. That's what I want you to do. So this is where you go, moremedia.com, which is my website. My team has been hard at work. Thank you so much to Emma. We have /Designhill. There's a tool checklist and a special offer for those of you that are here today. If you do not have the time or the bandwidth to put this together yourself, if you need help, we are here to help you. So that is a special offer, but it also will have a download for a tool checklist so you can use all the tools we use to put together a social media strategic plan. I just want to invite you to connect with me. You can send me an email if you have questions that I did not answer. I would love for you to connect with me on LinkedIn. It's been one of the networks that I've really started getting active on, and I love that network. And you can also find me on Instagram. I'm more in media on most places. Are there any additional questions, Nidhi? I want to make sure that I answer them.
Yes, sure. So we do have questions. Our registrants, they asked a lot of questions. They have tried to capture them in, a lot of it you have already covered, but there are a few questions that, we might want to ask you. So going ahead with this particular question about algorithm, on social media, the algorithm decide the reach of the content on the basis of the initial engagement happening in the post. What do you suggest to get that organic boost in the initial few hours of posting something?
Okay, so there's lots of different things, different ways you can boost your organic reach. And again, it depends on your goals. Why do you want that reach? And what are you going to do with it, right? So you can, if you have employees, if you are working with a team, you can certainly ask your team to keep an eye on it and say, hey, I just posted something that's really cool. Do you want to engage with it, right? So that's one way to do it. Get employees to help out every now and then. Don't do that every day, but that's one way to do that. Post something at a time that you normally don't post. Go to your insights. If you're talking about Facebook, see when most people are online. I cannot tell you how many people I talk to that post between 9 and 5 because that's when they're online. You know, if you know your target audience, you should know when they're online. For example, if your avatar includes that soccer mom that I was talking about earlier, the soccer moms, I know their habit because I'm one. I have 3 boys that played soccer. At 9 o'clock at night, my kids are done with homework. They're in bed. I'm watching TV, and I have a second screen, right? I have my phone with me. That's when you, if your avatar includes a soccer mom, you should be posting at 9 o'clock at night, between 9 and 11, because that's when moms have their feet up, finally sit and relax, and they'll be on their phone scrolling Facebook. Another good time is 6 o'clock in the morning. Most moms are up before their kids. The first thing they do, if that's part of your avatar, if you know them well, they will pick up their phone and they might be in the kitchen drinking a cup of coffee at 6 a.m., scrolling their Facebook. So those are different things that you, once you know who your avatar and who you're trying to reach, and then do the unexpected. All we want to do with social media, with a post, you are trying to evoke an emotion. If your post is not going to evoke any emotion, it's not going to have traction. So before you post, ask yourself, what emotion will this evoke? Will it evoke anger, happiness, sadness? Are people gonna, belly laugh? Is it a funny meme? So create, make sure that it has, if you're just posting something, but it doesn't have a call to action, and you're not asking them to like or share or what do you think? You're not asking a question. So in order to boost that algorithm, you have to have posts that invite engagement. I guess that's that's the long answer to a quick question. Evoke emotion, ask questions, be present. Even if you use a scheduler and you schedule at 9 o'clock at night, if people start commenting, you're going to want to have a community manager there who answers questions and asks follow-up questions. So to boost the algorithm, if somebody comments, you comment below them and they comment again, that boosts the algorithm. So you want to have conversations with people. Those are just a few ways that you can boost that organic reach in those first few hours.
Absolutely. I think knowing your user persona is one of the keys that, gets in there, that cuts it really, and then, converts leads into, prospects, and then, into eventual customers. So yes, so great advice, Dorian. Another question that we had was that on social media, it cannot always just be about getting more visits and engagement, and it has to transpire into some kind of ROI. Big word again. So what that ROI could be, and what are some relevant metrics to calculate it, especially in case of a bootstrapped startup?
Okay, so that's another whole presentation, the ROI of social media. I've done that one before. It's really hard to measure. It comes down to creating that plan and figuring out the digital part and the paid part and the non-paid part and the sales team and what their goals and objectives are. Because if you don't set KPIs, if you don't set your goals and what you want to reach, then you really can't measure. And bigger companies are usually better at it. They have a bigger team. But if you're a bootstrap startup, the best thing that I can tell you is that create an online community. The best ROI that I've seen is not from you trying all these things and you paying for stuff, but for you being a genuine company that is different, that is customer centered, that has an active community. Your brand ambassadors, your super fans will start talking about you. You can't pay enough to get that to happen. So if you're looking to bootstrap and if you're looking to get that bang for your buck, really start with customer centered ideas, have that Facebook group, do special things, be present, and it's amazing what will happen when you give of yourself. And that's really something that a lot of people don't understand is that it needs to really be focused on the customer, and then the other things will happen. But from social media, what you can measure is traffic from your social media sites to Google Analytics. So as a social media manager, you need to have access to that. You need to look at that on Instagram. If you have the swipe up, if you have more than 10,000 people following you, you have that metric. If you have a smart bio, on your Instagram, you can see how many people visit that. There's all kinds of different metrics that you can look at that are part of that organic. Of course, if you're running Facebook ads or Pinterest ads, you're going to get lots of data and analytics for that. But you have to decide what your goals are before you can measure anything, right? So your goal might not be web traffic. Your goal might be foot traffic into your local bakery. So how are you going to measure that? You're going to have to either have a coupon code, or you're going to have to ask people at the register, or you're going to have a sign up, or you have to have a loyalty program, right? Because that could be a social media goal, foot traffic into your local bakery. So you have to be creative on finding out how to measure that success. I have one client that I work with. Their measure is how often does their phone ring? And people say, I'm calling you because I found you on Google. Everything we're doing is Google centered. Google My Business, their blog, all of that. And everything else we're doing is icing on the cake. But that SEO for Google and Google My Business, that's what we're focused on, and their phone rings. If we stop blogging, if we stop creating that content, if we stop feeding the Google machine, their phone stops ringing. So understanding what your goals are is really the first step, and then measuring, and then having that ROI.
All right, all right. So we have this last question, and then we can take a few questions from the questions tab. And it's again a community centric question. It's about negative reviews. So since it is a free space, social media is a free space. What should be the strategy to handle negative reviews? Because deleting is the most convenient option, but not always the best one. So how to handle that part? Handling negative reviews.
Okay, so first of all, you can't always delete it. You can't delete a negative review off of Facebook or Google, so it's there. So the first thing I would tell you to do is create a plan. So you just like you create a social media strategic plan, you create a plan for crisis. And you write in there all the steps that you want to do. If somebody leaves a 1-star review, do you want to get the CEO involved? How do you want to handle it? Do you want to write out all the steps? My philosophy is that when somebody has a 1-star review, don't ignore it, right? You want to say to them, I hear you. You don't want to apologize for something you did online. Never apologize, because they can take a screenshot and then you admit guilt. You don't say, I'm sorry, we made a mistake. Don't ever offer something for free online in a public forum after somebody says, hey, this broke, and you say, oh, just let us know and we'll send you a new one. You don't do that online, because you get 500 other people doing the same thing. What you want to do is take the conversation offline. That's my number one tip. You go and say, I hear you. I'm sorry you're dealing with this issue. Here is the number. Can we have your contact number? Or here is our customer service email address. We'd love to discuss this with you in private or in person, whichever way you want to say it. And then you go fix it. And then when everybody is satisfied, you ask them to fix the 1-star review into a 4 or 5 or 3, whatever they want to do. But you want to take the conversation offline. If you say something, so they have a 1-star review, you say, hey, let's take the conversation online, and they blast you again, you can do one more. I always say 2 strikes and they're out. You do one more and say, we hear what you're saying. We are here and willing to discuss this with you. Let's take it offline. You try one more time, say kind of the same thing. If people then blast you a 3rd time, you stop responding. You're not going to respond to trolls. You're not going to respond to people who are not reasonable. So then it kind of speaks for itself. When people read the review and see that you calmly directed them offline, you want to have a conversation with them, and they're just blasting, people will see it for face value, right? That's kind of my tips. Take it offline as soon as you can. Don't admit guilt. Don't offer anything for free. in a public forum, take it offline, have customer service fix it, and whatever you need to do to fix it, right? Because then they might change their 1-star review to a 3 or a 4 or a 5, and they can become your biggest advocates. So fix it. But have that crisis plan in writing before it happens. That's part of a social media strategy. As a marketer, always know what the answers are going to be, what customer service issues might come up, frequently asked questions, and have standard replies, and then also have somebody in charge. And if it escalates, find out and write down who it is it's going to escalate to. If the CEO has to get involved, or the business owner, have that in that written crisis plan.
All right. So I see a lot of people asking if the presentation will be available to them. So yes, guys, after the session gets over, this presentation will be not only the presentation, but the entire video will be emailed to you, and you will be able to watch the replay. Okay, so I'm going to take this question from the questions tab. John is asking, and it's a very basic one yet important. He's a new business owner, and he wants to know where to begin. Picking up that first platform, which might be, whether it should be an FB or a LinkedIn or an Instagram. I hope, John, you would have, also specified the industry, so it was easier. But can you give us a few tips again on that, Dorian?
Yeah. So if you're a brand new business and you don't have any social media, I would look to your competitors. I would do that competitors analysis ASAP, right? Go look to what others in your industry are doing. Maybe they're on Pinterest, maybe they're on LinkedIn, maybe they're on Facebook. See where they are and what they are doing, what they are sharing. Are they on YouTube? What does their website look like? Are they offering product services on their website? Do that competitors analysis, because that's going to give you all the information you need to know where you should start. If they're successful on YouTube, all 3 of your competitors or 5 that you're looking at, that's going to tell you right then and there, you should be on YouTube. That's where your competitors are, and they have success. So you most likely also will have success. If they're on LinkedIn, but nothing is happening, but one of them is kicking it out of the ballpark on LinkedIn, there's an opportunity. So 3 of them are not doing LinkedIn. 1 is doing it and doing it really well. There's a lot of room for you to move in and do it well. If the same thing, if one of them is on Pinterest and knocking it out of the ballpark, look what they're doing. Take that as inspiration and go to Pinterest, even though the other 3 aren't doing it. Because if one is having success there, you can also copy that. So before you do anything else, put your blinders on, put your earmuffs on. Don't listen to what other people are saying where you should be. Go to the data. Get the data from your competitors. See where they are and what they're leaving on the table, what they're not doing, what they're doing well, what they're doing badly. And then from that, formulate your plan on where you should be. That's my best advice.
All right. The last question for the session, Dorian. What do you have to say about people who buy followers? I mean, that's also a reality, and it does not do justice to people who are organically growing. So, what is that piece of advice you would give to, have people be in their calm, and then, how to handle that aspect, because it's a reality.
Okay, so there's a couple of different ways to look at that, right? If you're a business owner and you're only looking at vanity metrics and you have not done a social media strategy, you're opening up Facebook once a month and you're like, we only have 800 followers, but my competitor has 20,000 followers. What's my team doing? That might be an opportunity. That might be where you think, oh my gosh, we need to buy followers because the CEO is upset with us, right? That might be the instinct. What you're doing when you're buying followers is you're diluting the message. So it's much better to talk to 800 interested people who are exactly your target audience on, for example, on Facebook, who you can retarget with ads, who become your brand ambassadors, who you can put into a Facebook community, who can invite their friends, who love your product, who are going to test your next product, then have 8,000 followers. None of them engage with you. Your reach is 0. They're in a different country. They will never buy your product. It's just a vanity metrics when you buy followers. Now that's on Facebook. Say it's on Instagram. If you buy a bunch of followers, most of the time you're going to have bots. And so you'll pay for this. You'll get this new feature. Maybe you'll pay for it so you have the 10,000K swipe up feature. But then they're going to drop because all of the time Instagram is trying to find them, and they're going to deactivate those bots, and then you're going to be losing them. It's also, one of the metrics that we look at is how many followers you have versus how engaged they are, right? So if you have 800 followers and per post you get 100 likes, that's really good. If you have 8,000 followers and per post you get 10 likes, those metrics are going to deep dive. That's not very good at all. So it depends on what you're measuring and how you're measuring it. I don't think it's ever a good idea to buy followers. And I know that's so tempting when you start up. I know that it's tempting. I would say when you're a startup, get your employees involved, get your friends involved. It's okay to ask them to like that page, but then get some great content out there, put some engagement ads on that content, and invite people to like the page that way and grow it organically, because you're going to have the right target audience right from the start. It's better, honestly, it's better to talk to 5 people who want to buy your product than 500 who will never buy from you, right? So it's all about that. And if you have to explain that to somebody in your company, that's why you need that strategic plan for. What are your goals and objectives? What are you trying to do? Who are you trying to reach? How are you trying to grow? And if you have that plan, you don't need to buy these followers because you can measure growth.
Absolutely. So the key takeaway is that we should focus on quality and not quantity at the end of the day.
Yes.
So, well, this brings us to the end of the wonderful session with Dorian. Indeed, a value-packed session. There's a lot more we could have discussed, though unfortunately we are limited by time here. I hope you guys loved the session. Thank you so much for being such a great audience. Once again, I'd like to thank Dorian for taking out time to be a part of this event. Dorian, last thoughts?
Thank you so much. I really appreciate Designhill for inviting me back. I was on a panel a couple of months ago. I had so much fun. And so when they invited me for this workshop, I was super excited to be here. And so it's a great opportunity. I also want to thank my team, especially Emma, for helping me with this presentation. Really couldn't have done it without you. And for those of you who are watching, come to my website. Love for you to take a look at the special offer, but I also have a 15-minute strategy call if you need a little bit more information or want that one-on-one. Feel free to email me, connect with me on LinkedIn. I would love to know what your pain points are, how we can help you put the strategy together. If you've taken anything from this today, remember that number one thing that is going to happen when you make the strategy, it's everything that's in your head. It's going to free up your head for more ideas, more dreams, because it's all going to be on paper, and it's really going to give you so much peace of mind, really, and a plan to follow in that roadmap. And that anxiety of needing to perform or needing to present something to somebody, that anxiety is going to go away because you have a plan to follow. And I think for that reason alone, it's great to get started with a social media strategy. So I just invite you to come look to see what we offer, and download that tool checklist. Get started. If you need help, let us know. We'd love to help you create your strategy.
Thank you, Dorian. It's always a pleasure to have you here. We expect more of you in coming future. And
yes.
Guys, this is not where it ends. We have a lot more events lined up for you in the coming days. The next event is a panel discussion on the power of podcast and why you should embrace this as a robust marketing tool. So if you guys are interested and haven't registered yet, I'm putting the link of our event section in the chat, where you can find all our upcoming events. To stay updated with events like these, you can follow us on LinkedIn page. You can give a suggestion on the topics you might want to cover us and the speakers you want us to host. I'm dropping the link of the LinkedIn page as well. To watch this session and other such wonderful events, subscribe to our events section on designhill.com/events, or visit our official YouTube channel. The team would be dropping in the link again in the chat section. For all the business owners who are listening to this and wish to source high quality graphic designs and build their brand today, you got to visit www.designhill.com. Also, we have recently launched a DIY creative tool called Designhill Studio. Be it a designer or a non-designer, Everyone can create beautiful designs such as business collaterals, presentations, social media posts, everything that you can think of. To check it out, you can visit designhill.com/studio. On that note, I would like to say bye to everyone. Bye, Dorian. Thank you so much, and everyone who joined us here today. Take care, guys, and stay safe.
Thank you, everybody. Bye.
Bye bye.